Hello, everyone. I hope you're feeling well and having a peaceful day. In today's video, we'll explore a gentle family story where a small promise, a quiet goodbye, and a child's simple words raise one big question. Can love stay strong when the people you care about are forced to live apart? Stay with us to feel every moment of this warm yet bittersweet journey. And if you enjoy heartfelt stories like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss our upcoming videos. The next morning, a thin layer of mist blankets the pomelo garden. Tiny droplets cling to the leaves, catching the first light as the sun slowly rises over the hills. The air is cold but fresh, carrying the scent of damp earth and young pomelos. One deep breath is enough to calm the heart. Diep wakes up early, as usual. She lights the stove, boils water, then stands quietly by the doorway for a moment, looking out into the small yard. Ly is still asleep, curled up in her blanket, breathing softly. And James, he stayed the night. It was too cold, the road was dark, and Ly had held onto his hand, refusing to let go. Diep doesn't say it out loud, but a strange feeling settles in her chest. Warm, yet uneasy, like holding something precious in her hands, while fearing it might slip away at any moment. James steps outside soon after, coat loosely draped over his shoulders, hair slightly messy from sleep. He smiles when he sees the hot water and bread already prepared. The atmosphere between them is peaceful, natural, almost like they've lived this way for years, even though both of them know this moment is temporary. "You're up early," James says softly, his voice still rough from the cold. Diep nods. "I'm used to it." James looks at the steam rising from the pot. "So am I. But I'm not used to having someone take care of me like this." Diep pauses for just a second, then sets a bowl on the table. "Eat while it's warm." The words are light, but James understands. Some feelings don't need to be spoken. At that moment, Ly wakes up. She rubs her eyes and runs straight outside, hair messy, wrapping her arms around James's leg like it's the most natural thing in the world. "Uncle James, you slept here?" James lifts her up, smiling. "Yes, it was too cold last night. Did Ly allow it?" "Yes." She nods firmly, then leans in and whispers like it's a big secret. "If you leave, I'll be sad." Diep hears that, and her heart tightens. Not painful, but enough to make her turn away, pretending to check the stove. James carries Ly closer to the fire, helps her sit comfortably. His movements are gentle, familiar, and that's what makes Diep both happy and afraid. Because the more beautiful something is, the more you fear losing it. After breakfast, they go out into the garden. There's still harvesting to do, but no rush. James says, "Let's take it slow today. The weather's nice. We all need a day to breathe." Diep looks at him, wanting to ask, "A day to breathe? For who?" But she doesn't ask. She already knows. Ly runs around, picking up small fallen pomelos, lining them up like toys. "This one is Mom Diep's. This one is Uncle James's. This one is mine." James laughs. "I get one too?" "Yes, because you're nice," Ly declares, then runs off again. Diep stands beside James, watching Ly, her eyes soft. She gets attached easily to people who are kind to her. James nods, still watching Ly. "I know." Then very quietly, almost to himself, "I'm just afraid. I won't be here long." Diep hears it. Her fingers tighten slightly at her sleeve. "Don't say that." James looks at her. "I don't want to make you worry, but I also don't want to pretend this has no limits." Just one sentence, gently touching the truth. Diep is silent. She turns her face toward the hill. A cold breeze passes through the trees. James doesn't push her to answer. He simply stands there with her, holding on to the calm for as long as he can. At noon, they return home. Diep cooks a simple meal: hot soup, vegetables, a small dish of braised meat. James helps wash vegetables, set the table. Ly runs around, occasionally supervising, like a tiny adult. When they sit down, Ly puts her hands together. "Thank you, Mom Diep, for cooking. Thank you, Uncle James, for helping." Diep laughs. "Who taught you that?" Ly points straight at James. "Uncle James!" James pretends to be shocked. "I just said we should say thank you." Diep smiles at him. "You're teaching her too fast." James looks back, eyes warm. "Because I want her to grow up knowing how to appreciate small things." The room feels soft. Warm food, gentle sounds, sunlight through the window. It feels like a family scene Diep once thought she'd never have. After lunch, Ly asks to see photos. She pulls James's phone. "Uncle, show me your parents." Diep freezes slightly. Parents. Those two words now feel like a shadow overhead. James hesitates, then opens his phone. Old photos appear. Him as a child, standing between his parents, smiling brightly. "You were so cute," Ly says. James smiles, but it's distant. "Yeah. Back then, I didn't know anything yet." Ly turns to Diep. "Mom Diep, can we visit Uncle James's parents tomorrow?" Diep chokes slightly. She doesn't know how to answer. James quickly pats Ly's head. "Not tomorrow. Uncle still has many things to do." "So don't go," Ly says simply. A childish sentence, but it hits the softest place. James puts the phone down. He looks at Diep, his eyes saying what he hasn't said out loud. "I don't want to go either." Diep takes a deep breath and pulls Ly into her arms. Every adult has things they must do, but leaving doesn't mean they stop caring. Ly looks up. Does Uncle James care about Mom Diep? Diep freezes. James freezes. The room goes quiet for a few breaths. Outside, the wind taps lightly against the wooden door. James looks at Ly, then at Diep. He doesn't avoid it. He says slowly, honestly, "I do." Just one word, but it makes Diep's throat tighten. She turns away, afraid James might see her eyes glisten. Ly claps happily. "Then we're family." "Hey, Ly," Diep says softly. But James laughs, a real laugh. He looks at Diep. Kids, they speak the truth. Before Diep can change the subject, James's phone vibrates. A name appears on the screen. James's expression darkens. Diep catches a glimpse, her heart tightening. A call from home. James doesn't answer right away. He steps out onto the porch, cold wind brushing his face. He looks up at the sky, weighing two invisible choices. Inside, Diep holds Ly closer. She doesn't hear the call, doesn't know what's said, but just seeing James standing there, she knows their peace is being tested. James finally answers, "Yes, I'm listening." And in that moment, episode 2 opens a new path. Not just James's story anymore, but the story of a small family forming and learning how to hold on to each other in the cold winds of life. James stays on the porch for a long time. The call has ended, but he doesn't come back inside right away. He looks down at his hands, as if weighing invisible things. Responsibility, blood ties, and the small family that has quietly taken shape. Inside, Diep keeps herself busy, tidying the table to calm her thoughts. Ly sits on a chair, legs swinging, eyes fixed on the door. "Mom, Diep," Ly whispers. "Is Uncle James sad?" Diep pauses and kneels to Nye's level. Why do you ask? When Mom is sad, she stands alone like that. Children see more than adults realize. Diep strokes Nye's back. Sometimes grown-ups need quiet when they have many things to think about. Then we wait for him? Nye asks. Yes, Diep replies softly. We wait. James eventually comes back inside. His face is calm again, but his eyes are heavier. He sits beside Nye and gently pats her head. I'm sorry for making you wait. It's okay, Nye says. We can wait. James smiles. Thank you. Diep pours him a cup of warm water. Drink. It's cold. James looks at her. My parents called. They asked when I'm coming home. The air shifts slightly, but Diep doesn't press. She just nods. Nye breaks the silence. If you go, will you come back? James kneels in front of her. I will. Not tomorrow, but I will. Promise? Nye asks seriously. James links his little finger with hers. Promise. Diep turns away, pretending to wipe the table, but her shoulders tremble slightly. The afternoon passes quietly. James fixes a loose door hinge. Diep mends Nye's clothes. Nye watches closely, making serious comments. As evening falls, golden light fills the yard. They sit together, drinking warm herbal tea. Nye leans against Diep, holding James's hand. James watches them, his heart softening. It's not a grand dream, no big house, no clear future, but it's real, and that's what scares him most. Diep, James says quietly. I don't know what the future looks like, but this time, it means a lot to me. I know, Diep replies. I don't want you to think I'm choosing my parents over you. I never thought that, she says gently. If you didn't go back when they needed you, you wouldn't be the man I care about. That understanding leaves James speechless. Nye, half asleep, murmurs. So Uncle James helps his parents, but still cares about us? Yes, James smiles. Then it's okay, Nye says, drifting off. That night, James packs quietly. Not much. Before bed, Nye hugs him tightly. Call me a lot. I will. Before leaving, James pauses. Thank you for showing me what family feels like. Diep doesn't cry. She just says, when you're tired, remember, you have a place to come back to. The next morning, the car drives away slowly. Nye waves high. Diep stands still, hand on Nye's shoulder. No tragedy, no loud tears, just one clear feeling. They didn't lose each other. They're simply learning how to love at the right time.